would like to throw this open to the audience for Q&A. But my submission to you is, let's not go into the last subject. That is the, the center-state relations, the financials, and, the unequal kind of a relation between center and state, and then what is likely to happen to the after devolution. Let's keep that aside, because that already was discussed in this room earlier before lunch. So let's talk about the southern model of governance. Let's confine ourselves to that particular thing. Please, I request you to raise your question. Kindly be as brief as possible. Very pointed question, and if possible, address it to one of the panelists. If you address it to the entire panel, then of course I will choose who would respond to that, because if all the panelists will have to respond to it, then we will have only one question, not more than one or two questions. In order to have more questions, we will let it be pointed out. And I also request you, when you get up and ask the question, before that, please identify yourself. Say your name, where are you from, what you do, what's your background, briefly, please.
Good evening.
Yes.
I am Vinay. I am studying for civil services exams. My question is, with all this Bangalore as a startup capital and now Karnataka as a welfareism state, can Karnataka itself be a model of inclusive growth?
Okay. You address this to any particular person or to the entire
Anyone
panel?
can answer, sir.
Sorry?
Anyone can answer.
Anyone. Let's ask Dinesh Gundu.
Yeah, inclusive growth has always been part of Karnataka's political, governance model that we've had, and so the welfare schemes may be looking more today, but we've always had welfare schemes right from the, even before, and so we are. I mean, I would like to say that yes, we are a model state, but I would say that on some fronts, my neighbors are doing better than me. I would say that, like say in my own health sector, I would say Tamil Nadu is slightly ahead of me. Kerala is doing better than me, and I am on par with Andhra and Telangana and all these states. So on certain aspects, we are better. So I think we have got our own pluses and minuses. So I think we can learn from each other a lot. And the inclusive development part, I think, cuts across all the southern states.
This is for Rajini, madam. Congratulations, first of all. You've demonstrated that...
You say your name.
This is Misbah. I'm an IT professional, but I also work on a few health initiatives with NGOs. Congratulations, you're one of the youngest MLAs India has seen as a woman.
Thank you so much.
And also you give confidence that women can take care of ministries more than women in childcare, which South Indian states don't see, right? You're first of the kind. At 32, you become a medical minister. So I was going through your brochure. So I see some very good schemes which you have implemented. I see you have Talibida scheme where you have blood transfusions and visits, which you spoke about. And you also have TIFA scheme where you are giving abdominal scans free, and you have services for expecting mothers at doorsteps, and also tribal waiting spots for birthing, right? Can you speak more about the best practices which you think which have not been emulated in the rest of the states? And our Dinesh Garu is also here, so maybe we could use the best practices and see if we can implement in our state and our other South Indian states as well.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you. Yeah, firstly, I would like to thank you for the compliment. And it is blessings of our Honorable Chief Minister, sir, in understanding the potentiality and giving such opportunity for me being a youngster. And of course, it should definitely be as inspiring to many women to come out and to start off their politics and serve the state and country as well. Well, when we talk about the initiatives, and as you rightly said, when you had a glance at my brochure, yes, of course, all those things have been predominantly implemented in the state of Andhra Pradesh. And especially when I talk about the best practices, what we have been implementing in the state of Andhra Pradesh under the dynamic leadership of our Honorable Chief Minister is one particular thing I was mentioning earlier in my this thing, that was the family doctor program. It's one of its kind, where like when I talk about the word called family doctor program, like every one of us can understand who actually would have a family doctor. So most of them, probably when we get out into some of the health illness or some of the health ailments, we think of ringing to our family doctor and seek some advice, and where we need to really pay off very well to him. But in the state of Andhra Pradesh, imagine the government sector is giving an assurance to the people of the state that they also have a family doctor right at their doorsteps in this family doctor program. That's one interesting initiative, and the great initiative it's been implemented in the state. At the same time, recently we have rolled out a program, very recently, that is Jaganana Arogya Suraksha. So what exactly this particular concept says is like, we are covering each and every citizen of the state by doing random tests. Like we have chose like 7 different types of tests. We wanted to make sure that each and every house is tested with BP, sugar, and hemoglobin. And if need be, some of the tests based on their needs and also with their permission, we wanted to do certain types of tests and have a database. And with this, we wanted to understand every individual and also help in the early intervention by making sure that they will have a healthy well-being without falling into the next stages of any disease attacks. So this particular program is giving wonderful results in the state of Andhra Pradesh. So this is one particular program we've been rolling out in the state for ensuring a very good health and also making sure that every individual is taken care by the government, and it's a responsibility of the government to take care of the health in order to ensure that we want to make Andhra as an Arogya Andhra Pradesh. So likewise, the women and all the things what you have been quoted. So those particular initiatives, like if we see, it is very important for us to study region-wise in the state and to understand their needs. So one, the birth waiting halls, what I'm talking about. So especially we are focusing in the tribal areas. In the tribal areas, the life of the people, mostly life of the people happens on the hills. And it is very hard for them to reach on time. At the time of delivery, it's very hard for them when they get pains, and all. At the time of delivery, when the expected due date is approaching, it's very hard for them to travel like hundreds of kilometers because they are staying away. So for those kind of people, like the government is insisting them at the time of their 8th month or maybe at the end of their 7th month or 8th month, they come and occupy and they get the enough care from the government itself at this birth waiting halls, where we wanted to ensure that the safe delivery. And in addition to this, not only safe delivery, we government are assuring womb to tomb care for all and providing all the ailments and covering all the ailments, and also assuring the care, the type of care, not only bringing them to the delivery by using Thalli Bidda Express after the delivery, with a smile we are dropping them at their places. So this is the kind of, these are the kind of practices what we have been implementing in the state of Andhra Pradesh.
Thank you, ma'am. They are replicable. I think the other states also can take a look at that kind of a thing. Anybody else? Yes, ma'am.
I have a question. My name is Tara Krishnaswamy. I'm a socio-political activist. Hello, sir. One question. The second question is for Mr. Gundu and Mr. PTR. The first question is for anybody or everybody. As citizens, occasionally we see collaborative, formal collaborations between governments. For example, In fact, years ago, during the 15th Finance Commission deliberations, I was in such a meeting with Mr. Parakala Prabhakar. At that time, Chandrababu Naidu Garu was the Chief Minister, and he had called for a consultation in Amravati, and many of us spent a couple of days. All opposition governments were there, and it was 2 days of intense activity, the kind of collaboration and work that the various finance ministers did. For someone who's a citizen and doesn't see government in action every day beyond citizen services, which are slow and onerous, it was extremely efficient and very well done. And then we see, that Mr. Gundu, for example, has visited ARP schools, or, occasionally we see collaborative activities like that. But
be brief.
Are there formal collaborative forums for this that the South, has or plans to have, that like the Interstate Council? The second question is that the National Medical Council, which has put a cap on the seats, for the southern states, especially, they affect the southern states more, but state health is a state subject. Do we think of that cap as a line in the sand, as hard and fast, or are state governments going to just go ahead with what they need to do, and we look at
May I suggest the
advice?
first question about some kind of an informal arrangement among states to be answered by Dr. Thiaga Rajan and of course Dinesh Gundu, and the second question, of course, you can take it up.
I think, we already do it a lot informally. I've already been to Telangana and to Kerala after I took this role as IT minister. I think in IT alone, I can see the value of bringing everybody together because we all have different initiatives. We are also keen, for example, on digitizing all our health records and so forth. So it would be very helpful. We'd have to be a bit thoughtful about how we did it, whether it would be a NGO or a third party or a South First, whether it would be in rotation the state governments themselves, because we want to make sure that politics doesn't intrude into it and it's purely about administration.
It doesn't raise the eyebrows.
Yeah. The second one, I'm not as qualified as Gundu to speak because I'm not the health minister, so I'll let him take the second one.
Yes, on the second question, the National Medical Council has come out with that guideline, recommendation or whatever. But I think, it is something which it goes back to the earlier discussion that in a federal structure, you should leave things to the states to decide what they want to do. You want to interfere in the number of colleges you can have, if you want to interfere in the kind of admissions that how many students you can take, and what kind of exams have to be taken for the entrance. If you want to interfere in every aspect, then that becomes a problem. That becomes encroaching and weakening the federal structure. What is important is quality of education, like what Ashwath was saying. Quality is important, and that should be the sole criteria, not the quantity. So if we have the potential to teach and train and establish good quality medical colleges in Karnataka, and not necessarily that people who study in Karnataka will remain in Karnataka. They will go all over India and all over the world. So why restrict something without even having a discussion, without even having a consultation? How can you come out with these kind of guidelines and rules? Something which I cannot understand. So I think we need to reject it outright. I don't think it's correct for them to dictate like this. So, and the first part, yes, I think collaborative arrangements will be needed, I think. And how do we do it? What is the framework for that is something I think we need to probably delve a little bit more deeper into that. What will be the right way to approach it?
Thomas retired as a journalist and took interest in education, so therefore I have an education question to ask. Human capital, largely and particularly our southern states, all 5 of them, have done exceedingly well educationally. And that's one of those things that makes a big difference when we talk about finance and all the other things. In indicators, education-wise, we've done exceedingly well. National education policy, when it came up, Karnataka was the first to start with it, and now Karnataka, under the change of government, wants to create a more tailored state education policy. What is the opinion of the other two states, that's Tamil Nadu and Andhra Pradesh here, and do you think southern states can collaborate on something like this when we are talking about
Your question is...
on the education policy?
I got the question. All of us got the question.
Yeah.
So we opposed it from the beginning, and we opposed it as much philosophically as anything else, because at least school education is a state subject to the best of our knowledge. The movement of concurrent list had been widely interpreted as collegiate education and above would be with the input of the union, and elementary through high school would be at the state level. And so, as with many other things, we thought that the union government framing policies in state subjects, as in cooperatives, as in minor dams, there's 100 examples of this, was aggressive overreach and unconstitutional. So we rejected it philosophically first. We also had this question: when the national educational outcomes are substantially worse than the southern state outcomes, in particular, that means, that's how math works. If the 5 of us are above average, then many people in the north must be, or west, or wherever must be, way below average. So what we were asking is, why should the lower average student tell the higher average students how to study? Basically, that was the core question, right? So if we had results that were worse than some other benchmark, then you tell us how we should improve. When we are producing substantially better results, why do you feel like you should intrude unconstitutionally into our field and then tell us? So what we did instead, we set up our own commission, and we came out with a state education policy, and we are refining whatever we had been doing. We used the opportunity to improve that. That's it.
So basically, this policy, national education policy, this is the third national education policy. This is not a first national education policy. The first national education policy came in 1968. And after that, 1986. So this policy is not something new. In our country, we have for each state different constitution. We can have one constitution. This is a framework. Framework has been built. Probably after the 34 years, we are having a national education policy. It is not which state is good, which state is bad. It is a framework for us to improvise. We are having one regulatory body, and national level we are having a regulatory bodies. We need to align. We cannot work in isolation since it's a globalized world. How best we can integrate? Probably you can see the skilling, the vocational has not been integrated into a formal education system. Our country, what is the percentage of skilling? If you look at the percentage of skilling, it's only 4%, 5%. If you compare with some other country, it is 95%, 80%, 90%. Technology not been integrated. So even that there's a big divide between a rural and urban. There's been a big divide between the private and the government. So basically, the socially, economically weaker section need to be addressed very strongly. Probably this policy is not in a state list. This is a concurrent list. This is not in a state list. It is in a concurrent list. So this is now at present, it is a policy, it is with a notification. Once the UGC regulation, if it comes out within a regulation, you got no other way. You have to fall in line. You need to align. We need to go together. We can't work in separation. This is my take on this.
Thank you very much, sir. Let's conclude here. I think we have had a very engaging discussion, very insightful discussion. Thank you very much. It's a very illustrious panel. As I said, very distinguished audience too. Thank you very much, Ashwath ji. Thank you very much, Sri Dinesh Gundu. Thank you very much, ma'am, Rajini ma'am. Thank you, Dr. Thiaga Rajan. Thank you very much, and thank you very much to Vasu and his colleagues, South First, Dakshin Dialogues. I think every year, this will have to go on, and this probably should be some sort of a cradle where exchange of ideas among the southern states, not only those who are in the government, but also people who are in the civil society, working in civil society organizations, etc. So that, much more concrete model of governance from here, this part of the country, would emerge. Thank you very much. Thank you, one and all.